Well, good morning, beloved beings, and welcome to this place of love and acceptance as I give all glory to God. So I believe that God wants you to know that love means never having to say you're sorry. Remember that phrase? Eric Siegel said it, and he was right. God loves you for everything, and that is why you never have to say you're sorry to God or anybody. The need for an apology is the signal of a person who is mistaken about themselves. You cannot be damaged by another person. You can only imagine that you can. It's all in your thought about it. So it's time to go back to love within yourself, unconditional love for you and others, and give up your need to forgive others for anything. So as we prepare to celebrate the 4th, which is a very wonderful, strong celebration of freedom, an important holiday for our country, Spirit chose the title today for the Kingdom of Freedom. Kingdom to us usually means a vast land that's ruled by a king or queen with lots of servants called serfs. If you have a thought that says, well, I could not own a kingdom, I ask you, are each of you not a king or a queen in your own right? A god or a goddess? Yes, you are. Do you not have authority over your life and all the experiences that you have? Yes, you do. And that's your kingdom. Another definition of kingdom is anything constituting an independent realm, such as the kingdom of thought. So do you not have control over your realm of thought? Do you have control over your realm of emotions? Over your realm of action that you take in the world? Yes, you do. You are the creators of your world, of your kingdom. You are in charge of your realm. And freedom is the focus or the theme of your kingdom. Who are the servants or the serfs in your kingdom? They're the thoughts that you have and the emotions that you feel. They are what support you in this kingdom, in this world that you have. I have mentioned before that one of the definitions of freedom is liberty from undesirable states of being. Isn't that a powerful statement? To have freedom or liberty from undesirable states of being. When we get upset inside of ourselves, we have negative thoughts, negative emotions, we get worried or all that stuff. Undesirable, we don't need it. So, we can have, with liberty, we can have our thoughts and our feelings connected to the Christ consciousness, which is what we practice here, what we talk about. So today, I want to share 8 steps of what freedom actually is for you to help create your life and your kingdom, okay? Number 1, freedom is conscious living or awareness of being. So that states, first of all, that you want to be conscious, more conscious of your life. Being aware of your thoughts, your emotions that guide your actions. Learning how to be in your life. Not just let things run you, but be in charge. Conscious living means being aware of old patterns that you may be carrying around. Old trigger points that are still there from childhood that you're carrying around inside of her. And it reflects also that we as a culture have been trained from an early age to do things. If you do this, then you'll have this. And I talk about that a lot. What we want to do is change that to being, our beingness. Because we are so concerned when we talk about doing, wanting to change everything out there, but that means we have to change it inside. And then the outside gets changed. So, the definition of being is the substance or the essence of an existing person. Who you are, how you express yourself, how you're being in this world. The core of who we are, the divine, worthy, loving being of who we are and how we were each created. In the image and likeness of God, where we created. God lives within us, and all this wonderful, powerful process and aspects of God that is our beingness. And our state of being does make a difference in our world. It affects not only us, but the mass consciousness of the world, which means all the thoughts that come together that create upset in our world or create love in our world, however our thoughts join with one another. So that's another reason why we want to watch who we're being, how we're being in the world, so that we don't connect to negative thoughts, to join into the mass consciousness. We need to be more aware of our essence and the truth of who we are in our own life, in our own world. So there's a statement from the spiritual hierarchy that says, I am the soul. I am divine. I am the mighty I am presence. I am God's will made manifest on earth. So it's time to be conscious of that. That's some pretty powerful statements, that you are will and soul manifested on earth. Begin to live it, beloved ones, and this is what freedom is all about, being consciously aware of who we are. Number 2, freedom is the ability to see our life as progressing. Doesn't matter what the past is. Life goes on with us no matter what, doesn't it? It just marches forward all the time. Our problem is we tend to carry around the past with us a lot, like a big suitcase full of stuff, judgments, etc. And what we do is we project it on our present situations. That's carrying the past. Or we look at the future, hoping that maybe someday something will change and we'll get what we want more, or we'll be more of who we want to be. And we look at the future. Oh, when this happens, when my kids leave the house, when I buy a house, whatever it is. So we're stuck between there and here. And this is where we need to be. All the problems, or so-called problems that we carry around from the past, then become our stories, and we talk about it. Oh, this happened to me. And other people join in, oh yeah, I know that. That happened to me too. And then we start talking about our problems. We need to let that go. Because when we do that, we end up in a prison of our own thinking. We're caught up in just the worry and the problem. Like a prison. That's what prison is about. So it's time to consciously wake up, beloveds, and start progressing in our life, moment by moment, being in the moment, feeling how we are in the moment, being happy and joyful and loved and giving love to other ones. And look at everything that happens to us are just lessons. Like going to school, I've talked about that too, that we go to school and we go through all the grades and we learn things, right? And we go through lessons and we learn more knowledge. It's the same thing in our life. We get to go through different levels of problems or issues that come in our life, and we learn how to deal with them, how to move past them, how to not let them control us. That's our freedom there, beloveds. Number 2, learning our lessons about what's going on in our life and letting them go and claiming the answer, which is love and oneness with God. Number 3, freedom is not being afraid to be afraid. Learn to face your fear. So, fear is false evidence appearing real, forgetting that everything is all right. So we need to be aware of our fears. To be impeccable is to have a conscious understanding of your fears, not to let them control you, but a conscious understanding of it. To know that what your fears are, so they know that if they're yours or they're somebody else's that you've taken on. Then, once you become aware of those fears, then you can begin to let them go and release them and see something different. Then you can start being current right now in this moment with our own feelings and our fears. Now I should have brought it a picture of a clock at home, and all it says is now, 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 now. To be in the moment now, every moment, okay? Since fear is the opposite of love, we also want to be able to see the love in fear. Wow, what does that mean? To love your fear means you have to embrace it, you have to feel it, you have to breathe it out of your body, understand what it is, not let it overtake you. And maybe you could even ask some questions as you're doing this process. What can I find of value in this fear that I've got? What teaching did it bring me? What could I love in the fear? And if you cannot find anything to love in the fear, either you're not ready to face it, or the fear is not yours, and you can let it go. It's something you took on from somebody else. Is there a lot of freedom in that as well? 4, freedom is being fully engaged in life without attachment. This means, of course, to be connected to our life, to be engaged in things in our life. Like when we get in the car and we go on the freeway, we're engaged in our car and the trip that we're going. It's the same thing with our life, to be engaged with it every moment, but not being attached to the outcome. It has to be this way, because that takes you off the moment, that takes you off the path. Just to be engaged in it moment by moment. Allow whatever comes and feel it and love it and let it go, or hold on to it or share it or whatever it is. Because when we're attached to things outside, we then put ourselves in another prison, waiting for something to happen and being upset when it doesn't happen the way we want. We get into anger, and then we get into guilt, and we get on a wheel where we travel around with all of that. What we're talking about here is to just be connected to love, not to worry about the outside, To be able to unconditionally love yourself and then love others fully without any expectation of it having to come back in any way at all. Just be love. Any expectations that you have is like a cord that you have attached to that other person or experience. It's unconscious, but it's there, and it connects us to us, and we feel the energy from other people. It ties us to that person, especially in romantic relationships. We feel a cord that holds us. So the answer, again, as I said earlier, be engaged, since we're talking about being engaged, with love. Love doesn't have attachments. It just is love. Especially when we feel the unconditional. And we want to be able to be and then allow God to do through us because of what we want to do. So do you see what fully engaged means? It means to have your attention on your life, on your kingdom, on your intention of what it is that you want to experience in life. Put your whole attention on it. Focus your thoughts on the spiritual, Christed God thoughts, not the fear ones. Go through the process of the fear, like I said, and let them go. Doug Hammarskjöld, who is a past director of the UN, had a little prayer of affirmation that strikes this tone. He says, to everything that has been, thanks. To everything that will be, yes. Very simple, huh? Number 5, freedom is consciousness of serenity in all of life's unfoldment. Wow, doesn't that sound something wonderful that we just have this serenity in our lives? We let it unfold without a lot of worry. Life is either a daring adventure or it's nothing, because we are here to experience things that go on in our life. We're here to learn. Our soul is here to grow into love, into the I am consciousness as much as we can. And we could give, as the Course in Miracles say, we look at everything in our life as a giving of love or a cry for love. That's what it is. Love is always about love, even with all that's going on in our country right now. To be able to hold on to a place of unconditional love for ourselves and others. And one way that we could do that is to stop criticizing ourselves or others. Stop finding fault, because that takes us off the center. It puts us in this worry place, in this negative thing, rather than just being connected to love. And Rumi, a great mystic poet, wrote this one time in a poem of his. Accept life's ups and downs. You know how it is. Sometimes we plan a trip to one place, but something takes us to another. God fixes a passionate desire in you and then disappoints you. God does that 100 times. God breaks the wings of one intention and then gives you another. Cutting the rope of contriving so you'll remember your independence or your dependence. But sometimes your plans work out. You feel fulfilled and in control. And that's because if you were always failing, you would give up. But remember, it is by failures that lovers stay aware of how they're loved. Failure is the key to the kingdom within. Life has its pleasures and disappointments, and God is not found exclusively in either one. Unquote. So a question I would ask you is, to what degree have you accepted the presence of God within you? That may be a question to ask when you wake up in the morning, before you go to bed at night. Think about your day, and to what degree have I accepted God's presence within me? Where are the places where I have experienced serenity in my life? Where are the places where I may have too much worry or upset or blame or judgment going on? Because the new freedom is through serenity, inner serenity, not outward power, but just the peace inside. Number 6, conscious exercise of one's volition, the opportunity to be the presence of God within. So again, we're talking about being, which is our substance or essence, the presence of God inside. That's, just remember, that's the easiest thing to say. Being is our acceptance of the presence of God within us. And we're talking about making a conscious choice, not an unconscious choice, not an unconscious where we're controlled by our old thoughts, our childhood, whatever it was, the church, the government, schools. We have to learn to let go of all that stuff and be in the present moment with who we are and how we're being. This self-concept comes from the I am statements that we use. Like, for instance, I am what? Poor. I'm wrong. I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. When the ego buys into that concept, it becomes the idea or the truth for us. Because the idea is saying, this is who you are. But then when we change the idea of ourself, the ego also has to be changed. It has to be able to go along with this new idea. We need to wake it up and go, no, this is the truth of who I am. I am love. I am peace. I am prosperous. I am abundant. I am God expressing. And think about bringing the ego along with it and make it more real for us. And then once we do that, we create a new reality for our lives. So the goal is to have a vision of who you would like to be once you are connected more to spirit. That's a good question. Who do I want to be in my life, in my kingdom that I'm in charge of? And then once your vision of who you want to be becomes a burning desire, meaning, God, it's really inside of myself, this is who I want to be, then you start to choose to be the one that's in that vision and you manifest it. It's all about choice. Make the choice for yourself. Number 7, freedom is the understanding and conscious use of spiritual and natural laws of being. So what this does is it states that there are laws in the universe that run the universe, and there's laws that run our state of being. The biggest one is the one I talked about a few weeks ago, the law of attraction, which we're aware of. That basically states that we attract to us people, places, and situations that match our vibration, because everything is energy. Everything. And if we look at the vibration of our thoughts and our emotions, they're energy as well. And are we vibrating in love, or are we vibrating in fear? As a result, we attract people, situations, and events to match that. So we can look at the outside and go, wow, what have I attracted to myself here? What does that say about what I was thinking, what I was feeling? So the question is then, are we in love or are we in fear? There's a vibrational energy to both of them, but they can't be attracted to each other because it's all different. We can only attract love if we're connected to love, or fear if we're connected to fear. Therefore, we can start to see more often, where are we at in ourselves? Where are we being based upon what we're attracting? So there's a lot of different clues, beloveds, that help us see the truth of who we are. There is no separation. There's only the one mind that we're connected to. And it fits in with the statement that says, as within, as so without. Within, so without. As above, so below. Anything that we think or manage in our conscious mind will manifest on earth. It works that way. That is the law. And there's no separation with anything in this universe. Only within our own personal mind, with our ego that believes in separation. So it's time to come together and connect to the oneness. And lastly, freedom is the ability to choose the right path for oneself, to make your life a blessing for you and others. Buddha taught about the eightfold path of life, and let me go over them. Number 1, right seeing, how we view things, which comes through our consciousness, not necessarily through our eyes. Right thought, as I said earlier, removing your attachment, being aware of whether it's a fear or Christed thought. Right speech, remember the process, thought, word, and deed. So what are we speaking? What thoughts do they come from? What words do we use behind that statement, I am, as I talked about earlier? Then we have right action, to be aware of how we are acting and avoid any hurtful action as a human being. Right living. Harmonious life is balanced between, again, those 3. The mental, which is our thoughts, the verbal, which is our word, and the physical, which is our acts, all coming from our heart, which is our feeling. Then we have right effort. Take further efforts to follow the way of Buddha, God, Christ. Open up to the truth of God within you and your own inner intention and attention on your life, your inner truth. Right will. Concentrate deeply. Focus on aiming for your enlightenment, which means growing beyond ego and fear. And know that God's will is your will. There is no separation. And lastly, right meditation. Go inside. Always to follow these steps, to connect to the God energy within inside, to help you attain total freedom. So these 8 steps to me tell us that our freedom is guaranteed through our relationship to God. What do we need to do? Claim it. Make the choice for it. Say, it is ours. This is my kingdom. I'm in charge, and it's going to be a kingdom of love. So I want you all to express gratitude for another day, to experience this love that's here. Namaste. All righty, any comments?